this video, I will teach you the two knights attack against the Caro-Kann Defense. Imagine that this is a battlefield, and these are two armies that have marched for 40 days and 40 nights to meet each other in battle. We all know the story of the valiant knight who embarks on an epic quest to defeat the enemy, save the princess and the kingdom. In the practicalities of war, however, the side who wins is the side who understands one very important thing. Each single piece has a job and a role to play. In this video, I will teach you the job and purpose of each piece and how they will work in concert with their comrades to crash through the enemy ranks and grant you victory. Let's go. Chapter 1. Intro and Tabia. You arrive at the battlefield to find your brave army already perfectly set up, and without hesitation you order the attack to begin. Pawn to e4. But what is this? Pawn to c6, the Caro-Kann Defense. What is this mystery move? Well, in all likelihood, your opponent is receiving strategical and tactical advice from a mastermind hiding behind the scenes. Who is this? This is code for the extremely popular chess YouTuber Gotham Chess having made a video where he recommends beginning and improving players to play the Caro-Kann Defense. But their advisor, this Gotham Chess character, has not mentioned in any great detail what we are going to do, and that's how we will get them. The two knights attack. The first knight, knight to f3, pawn to d5, that is the plan from the black player, and here we play knight to c3, the two knights attack. Before I show you all the devious traps you can lure your opponent into from this position, it is important that we take a look at the battlefield. When two armies meet, there may be a lake in between them, there may be a forest off to the side, or a hill somewhere. The good general takes all this into account when deciding how and when to deploy each section of the army. With that in mind, let's take a look at the terrain of the Caro-Kann. In the middle of the board, we have the pawn structure. This is the map of the battlefield and determines which piece can move and, more importantly, which pieces should move. They can play pawn to e6, but this traps in the light-squared bishop, so it cannot come out and join the battle in the fray, and that is the whole point of the Caro-Kann. Black plays the Caro-Kann to activate this bishop, so they are not going to play e6. Could you play knight d7? Notice that the natural developing square c6 for the knight is occupied by the c6 pawn. Knight d7 blocks the queen, so now we could just capture the pawn, they recapture, and we capture with the knight. So knight d7, not possible. Knight to f6, also not a move they are inclined to make, because we can simply push pawn to e4 and chase them away. This is also not why they play the Caro-Kann. They could try something crazy like queen to a5. This move was tried by none other than Magnus Carlsen against Alireza Firouzja in the 2022 Crypto Cup. However, this move doesn't really achieve anything and puts the queen out too early, and even the mighty Magnus Carlsen got absolutely crushed after queen to a5. So, there are really only three moves that black can really play in this terrain here. And we will take a look at each of those moves. We will understand why they are playing them, and we will learn all the traps we have against them. And to help you along, I have created what is known as a Lichess study. Let me just make myself invisible here, and then you can see it on the screen behind me. There is a link to this in the description with all the same names for the chapters and all the notes, so that you can study up on this later. Chapter 2, Noble Knight and Killer Queen 1. This is a fun one. The Noble Knight and the Killer Queen is something you activate when your opponent tries to get their knights into play. So we already saw that you cannot do it immediately with black. So what can you do? Well, you can start out by capturing the pawn, so that it is no longer threatening to come to e4. We always recapture with the knight. Knight takes e4. And they are not really that inclined to play knight f6 because we can capture and double their pawns. And therefore, they may try knight d7 with a very particular plan, because now this knight covers f6, so that if they could play a move again and play knight to f6 now, knight g to f6, there's no use capturing the knight because they can recapture with their own knight and not double their pawns. That's their plan with this strange knight d7. But here we play the Killer Queen to e2, so that if they really try to play knight g to f6, pause the video and see if you can find checkmate in one move. Found it? Here it is. Knight to d6, checkmate. That is the point of the combination of the Killer Queen and the Noble Knight. The queen slyly pins this pawn so it cannot capture the knight. The king has nowhere to go. So this is a pattern that is very useful for you to know. Now let's move on to the next chapter, Killer Queen and Noble Knight 2. What we will do is we will actually go all the way back to the beginning, and then we will blitz through the moves to help you build pattern recognition. So let's blitz through the moves. e4, c6, knight f3, d5, knight c3. They capture still. D takes e, knight takes e4, and here they can try to improve by playing still knight d7. We of course still play queen to e2, but instead of playing knight g to f6, which allows the devastating checkmate, they can try out knight d to f6, so that this knight is now covered by the g knight. This kind of maneuver is very, very popular in many side variations of the Caro-Kann, and we have to know what we will do against it. And what we will do is we will come in with the other noble knight, knight to e5. And here they may think that they are really, really clever because they feel they are being allowed to do what it is that they want to do, and that is to play knight takes knight, queen takes knight, and here they think that they win a tempo with knight to f6, attacking the queen. But we show no fear. The noble knight and the killer queen have an ally, the brazen bishop. So here we play bishop to c4, setting a deadly trap. Because of course, knight takes takes queen. Very tempting, but not a very good move. Can you find the checkmate in 1? Bishop takes f7. The brazen bishop backed up by the noble knight. And that indeed is checkmate, because the knight takes care of d7 as well. And that is the point here of this variation for us. Of course, we are very happy if they capture the queen. But if they play the only good move in the position, pawn to e6, we are still very happy. You can here move your queen back to e2, no longer blocking the bishop in, and you have an excellent position. You can castle, you can play pawn to d4 and activate the bishop and form a battery of the 2 rooks along this e-file. So that is how you deal with your opponent capturing the pawn and trying to develop the knights. Now let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 4, A Foolish Dance. So let's go back to the beginning. The most familiar position in chess, the starting position. And from here we blitz through the moves to our Tabia position. e4, c6, knight to f3, d5, and knight to c3. And now maybe they realize that developing the knights is no good, but they think that they can get all they want from the Caro-Kann with extra advantage. And here is what you will see so many times. You will win so many games like this. They play d takes e. We've seen this. Knight takes e4. And here we will take a look at the fool. Bishop to f4. In French, the bishop is called a fou. That means a fool or the court jester. And the court jester is a powerful figure. But in this particular case, the foolishness will be to the detriment of the Black Majesty. This is a sequence that you will see so often because this is really what the Caro-Kann is all about. Getting this strong bishop. But in this particular variation that we are playing, the 2 knights, it does not work. And we will make the bishop or the fool dance. First of all, we will play knight to g3. This attacks the bishop. The bishop drops back in most cases. So the dance has really begun. But we will make sure it's quick on its feet, that bishop. We will attack it again once more with h4. Now we are threatening to simply play h5, which will trap the bishop. There's nowhere to go. The knight. This knight is taking care of all the escape squares. Realizing this, your opponent can play h6. So this gives an escape square for the bishop. We play knight to e5. Looking at the bishop, saying, oh, I can come and capture you now. Doubling the pawn structure here. And you will have lost so much time. You will have a very, very bad position. And invariably, you will see your opponent drop the bishop back, thinking they have a strong bishop here on h7. But we will go all in with this attack, realizing that with this foolish dance, Black has lost a lot of time. So we play queen to h5. If there was a pawn on h5, we would capture it. This threatens checkmate on f7. In almost all games in the database, we see pawn to g6. And they are thinking that they will be able to put the other bishop out here on the long diagonal, and they will make us move our queen, and maybe they can save the position. But we will not move the queen. If you think back to one of the earlier chapters, what is a pattern that you can use here to reinforce your attack? The brazen bishop. The brazen bishop goes to c4, threatening checkmate once again, so that if the queen is captured, we will have checkmate on f7, the same pattern. And here, there's only one move for black, e6. And now, we get really sneaky. The queen drops back again, all the way back here, to e2. And now it really does look like that black has for now repelled our attack. They will be desperate to castle their king, feeling the pressure. But this queen move back to e2 is not just a retreating move. It is actually a very aggressive move, which we can see if they play the most popular move, interestingly, in the position, bishop to g7. Because brazen bishop, noble knight, and killer queen will take full advantage of the foolish stance with which your opponent has lost so much time. And we sacrifice the knight. Knight takes f7. Of course, we are threatening the rook, and we are threatening the queen, but there is no way to capture the knight, because if king takes knight, the killer queen will deliver checkmate very soon. Queen takes e6, and that is check. There is only one move, king to f8 and queen f7, and that is checkmate. This is a very, very important pattern in the two knights attack, and there are some subtleties where you can still get this exact same pattern through a different move order, and you will have to know that as well. So let's go to Chapter 5, A Foolish Dance 2, Bishop g4 Transposition. So we go back again. Isma chesses back. Tell a friend. Let's go back. 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 Okay. So we blitz through the moves to build pattern recognition. e4, c6, knight f3, d5, and knight c3. Still try to get the bishop out. Pawn takes pawn on e4. Knight takes e4. But what if they try to pin us like this? Bishop g4. This is a much better move, and we will cover this in more detail later. Here you play h3, kicking the bishop. If your opponent knows what they are doing, they will play bishop takes knight, and you will recapture with the queen. And I will cover this variation in a later chapter. But pertaining to the foolish dance concept, let's examine what you must do if they drop the bishop back to h5. Here you play knight back to g3, attacking the bishop. Can you see where this is going? Bishop to g6, and you can easily play h4. You are not losing time by playing this move in two moves instead of one, because black has lost exactly the same amount of moves with the foolish dance. And h6, you know what to do. Chase the bishop, bishop goes back, queen out, queen is attacked, bishop out, e6 only move, sneaky queen back, and here you are looking to sacrifice on f7, as we were discussing in the previous chapter. Now let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 6, the quick fool. Bishop g4 to h5. So we reset the board to the starting position. Let's see how fast we can do this. e4, c6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, And here, what if they don't take? So we have discussed taking and getting the knights out. We have discussed taking and getting the bishop out. We have not discussed pushing the pawn, that will come later, and we have not discussed moving the bishop immediately. That is one of the main moves. That is what a grandmaster may do in this position with the black pieces. And obviously you cannot go to f4. We are attacking that square, so they may go to g4. This is one of the main moves, and we must know what we are doing here. And here we rely on our pattern recognition to find h3, a move very similar to what we have seen before. And as in the cases we have seen before, the correct move for black is the counterintuitive bishop takes knight, and we can recapture with the queen. If they go for this, it means they are probably a quite experienced player, and we will discuss this in greater detail later. But you must know what to do if they drop back. So this is quite similar to what we have been seeing, but not exactly. So how do we punish this quick fool that comes out before even capturing the pawn? Well, first of all, we will capture their pawn. E takes d5. They will, of course, recapture, or they will have a very bad position. They cannot recapture with the queen, because we will take the queen with their knight, so c takes d. And we actually have a huge advantage here. We play g4, only one move, bishop drops back, and we want to embarrass this bishop that, even though it came out quickly, has still been lured into a foolish dance. And can you maybe guess what kind of move we would like to play here in order to trap the bishop? Very good. h4. The only good move for black here is knight to c6, allowing the bishop to be trapped and traded off on e4. You will not see this at the lower levels or at the beginning levels or at any other level than really experienced players. What you will see is h6. Now we cannot get out with the queen. We will still play knight to e4. And here we have an almost winning game. The only attempt to stay in the game for black is to play knight c6 now, and we will simply capture the bishop. They will recapture. Let me show you. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes, and this pawn structure here is absolutely horrible, and this diagonal towards the king will be very easy to attack. Imagine a bishop or a queen capturing, for instance, on g6. So this is a very significant advantage, but this is not the move that you are going to see the most often. You're going to see them drop the bishop back to h7, and this loses immediately. We cannot go for checkmate on f7 with the pawn here on d5. So what do we play? The brazen bishop. What is an avenue of attack for this bishop that will not need to have a foolish dance and dance around on the chessboard, but can go exactly where it needs to be in one swift move? Bishop b5, and that is check. And there is just no good way to stop this. Let's say they try knight c6. We quite simply capture that. Very importantly, we capture it with the knight. And it's a free piece. They cannot recapture that, because if they do, pawn takes c6, bishop takes, and we expose this extremely weak diagonal towards the king. There is only one move here, only one legal move, and that's to block with the queen. we can of course just capture the queen, and that is a winning game. So with that, let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 7, The Ambitious Peasant. There is one burning question that we still need to answer in order to justify this entire opening. So again, I invite you to go back to the starting position with me, and from there we will travel to the battlefield. e4, c6, knight f3, d5, and knight c3. And all these very nice traps we have made, all these very nice variations, well, none of them matter at all if black can simply push the pawn to d4 and dominate the center. So the question is this possible for black? And I'm happy to tell you that this leads to a winning game for white. First of all, we cannot capture with our knight. No. Their pawn is protected by the queen, and they are attacking our knight. But we will goad them into committing a series of mistakes that looks like very good moves. So firstly, we will go back with the knight to e2. What does that do? Well, now both of these knights are attacking d5. So if it's our move again, we can just come in and capture it. So that almost forces c5 defending. And we play pawn to c3, attacking the center again, goading them forward. They're thinking, what are they doing? We can just absolutely dominate here. Look at how strong this pawn is. But watch this. They play pawn to d3, attacking our knight again. We play knight to f4. And knights, they can move backwards as well. So now that knight is attacking the pawn. And also the brazen bishop has been unleashed. So now, for the third time, we are attacking that d-pawn twice. And it is only defended once. And having gone so far, what do you think that black always play? Pawn to c6, thinking they have an absolutely winning game. But what is it that we have learned so far about the Caro-Kann, about the two knights attack variation in particular? Well, there is something about the diagonal towards the king here. Many a time we have exploited that diagonal, and lo and behold, we will do it again. The queen can simply go to a4. That is check. And it doesn't matter how you block. Let's put a sample move in. Knight to d7, blocking the check. We simply play queen takes c5, also threatening to capture the e3 pawn, and there is no way to stop that. We are controlling so much of the board, so there is just absolutely nothing black can do. I will put in a sample move here, pawn to e6, and we can capture with the knight, with the queen, or with the bishop. Let's just capture with the queen. I like the look of that. This is a winning advantage for white. You are up 2 pawns. You have a great deal of development, and you are simply dominating this game. And that is how the ambitious peasant will be met with swift and cruel justice if he, she, or they try to challenge our army. And now it's time for the 8th and final chapter. Chapter 8, The Calm Spy, Main Line. You know the drill. You know the drill. We go back to the beginning. Now you may be wondering, why is this chapter titled The Calm Spy? Well, ever since Black got advice from this military mastermind called Gotham Chess, we have seen an explosion in the popularity of the Caro-Kann. You know the Caro-Kann, it looks like this. e4, c6, knight f3, and d5. And we do the two knights attack with knight to c3. But why the calm spy? Well, if you are here, I really hope that you are calm. That is the whole point. Learning while being supremely relaxed. And I am your little spy. So I watched that video and I took notes about the very, very few details Gotham Chess mentioned about the two knights. So I have spied a little on their military advisor, on the military advisor of your opponent. And if they don't fall for any of the traps, which they very well could be because Gotham Chess did not outline them, but if they somehow figure out how to play the main line, I even have traps for you there. So, bishop g4, h3 attacking, bishop takes, queen takes, e6 and d4. There are two moves here that a grandmaster may play, and I'll just briefly cover knight f6 here, because this is actually also pretty popular at the amateur level. So this move is attacking your e-pawn. You defend it, but are actually willing to give it up. You defend it with bishop d3. When they capture, the only really good move in the position, you play knight takes e4, and here they can play queen takes d4. So they are now, as you can see, up a pawn. They are ahead in material. So why would you be interested in playing this? Well, if you are a grandmaster, you would know that this is a very drawish position. And at the master level, there are many, many draws, mostly draws from this position. Interestingly, among amateurs, white just castles and wins a healthy 54% of the games, losing 40% of the games, and only 6% are drawn. So in the practice that most of us find ourselves in the non-master practice, white has excellent compensation with control of the center and a very strong lead in development. So you may see this. And now for the final main line, how a grandmaster would probably play this. Okay, how quickly can we do it? e4, c6, knight f3, d5, and knight c3. That was too quick for me. I really like putting the pieces just in the center of the squares, so I shouldn't move too fast. Okay, bishop g4, h3, takes. We know all of this. Recapturing with the queen, e6, d4, and here the main move is d takes e4, immediately challenging the queen. She has been moved out quite early, so black will try to exploit that. We recapture with the queen, we don't recapture with the knight, as that would hang the pawn on d4 to the queen. So we recapture like this, and they win a tempo against our queen. We move the queen to h4, and they indirectly X-ray attack our queen with bishop e7. We have a lot of goals we want to achieve, but this particular terrain, this particular battlefield is very, very tactical, so we will first solve all of our tactical problems. We do not want to run into any sort of discovered attack against our queen. So we play bishop to g5. So that if we see any knight move, we can play bishop takes e7. Here the main move is castles, all makes a lot of sense, and we play bishop to d3. So we have a very dynamic position, as in all the other variations. In this very aggressive opening, we are going to attack. This bishop looking at h7, this active queen and active bishop, and we can castle either queen side or king side and activate the rooks on the e-file. From here I'll just give a sample variation. That's actually from a game that I played, just to show what kind of attack that we are aiming for. If black tries to kick the bishop, we sacrifice immediately, because we just want to open up and have this very strong attack. My opponent played g takes, and here I missed the best move. I played the very natural queen takes on h6, and I saw that I could force or draw. Takes and check, 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 check. And my opponent was higher rated than me, so I chickened out with a draw. But analyzing this, I found that the best move in this position that gives a significant advantage is actually g4. So we are basically attacking with everything we have. Now we are threatening g5. Best move is king g7. So here you just push, you just want to attack and also open up the rook here. We're just being sort of very hacky in a caveman style attack. The best move here is rook to h8, giving the knight back, so you're just going to capture that. They play bishop captures, you move your queen, and you have an excellent attack. But just to show how quickly this game can end, we'll just show h takes g5, and here we win check. Remember, the bishop takes care of h7, so we go here, queen check, king moves away, counting on the knight to protect h7, which would be checkmate, and we distract the knight with rook to g1. That is checkmate unless we see this move to block, and of course now queen to h7 is checkmate. I don't suspect you will get this exact position, but this is the kind of positions you are looking for in the main line of the two knights attack. The link to the lead chess study is in the description, along with a link to my Patreon if you want to support me. And otherwise, thanks for being part of chess. Hope I see you in the next video.